Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to Time for More Injury Funding podcast, the podcast for all who want to learn about the legal funding and its significance in personal injury, medical malpractice, wrongful death, immigration, and all other law practice domains. I'm your host, Laura, founder and CEO of More Injury Funding, the legal funding counselors with passion for law, medicine, legal funding, and heart for all suffering individuals. In today's episode, by popular demand, I have our returning attorney guest, Jennifer Cabrera-Torres with Gonzales Torres Law based in Norcross, Georgia.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to see you again.
Likewise.
You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Today, we will focus our attention on the challenges faced by Hispanic female lawyers, highlighting the importance of representation, diversity, and inclusion. We will discuss the impact of cultural background on legal practice and emphasize our focus on the roles of social media and education and supporting future generations and then combating stereotypes. Again, welcome back to Time for More Injury Funding podcast, Jennifer.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, so last time we recorded your episode remotely on the weekend where office lights were flickering. I remember you were moving your hand. That was really funny, making me laugh. And I was at this hotel's Wi-Fi where we couldn't get Wi-Fi connected until literally 2 seconds before our podcast recording. And I know this time it will be so much better and with no interruptions. So I'm so looking forward to it. Yes, hopefully.
We'll roll with it.
Exactly. Go with the flow. So, Jennifer, thinking back to our last conversation, what were some key takeaways for you regarding the challenges faced by Hispanic female lawyers? Have you seen any shifts in perception since then? And I think it's been almost, definitely a year and a half since our last conversation.
Yeah, sure. No, absolutely. One shift that I've noticed is just the growing need for Spanish-speaking attorneys on all sides, not just plaintiff side. I've seen it on defense, really, but across the board. I just feel like clients just feel more empowered if they're able to speak to an attorney in their own language.
Mm-hmm.
In my background, as I was a paralegal for a decade and a half.
That's so helpful. Wonderful background right there.
Yeah. And, in that previous career, I was able to experience the fact that most attorneys have Spanish-speaking staff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot just gets lost in translation. And sometimes a client just feels closer to their attorney and is more open and to being vulnerable.
Absolutely.
If they're able to speak to their attorney in their language.
Of course, no doubt. And in, I don't know the statistics of state of Georgia, but we have huge population of Hispanics here in Georgia. I'm sure just like in Florida or Texas, but in Georgia, there's a quite. Do you know any demographics or statistics of the Hispanic population here?
I don't know the statistics in numbers, but I do remember back when I was being sworn in, I think it was the Supreme Court of Georgia or something. There was a story that came out that said that there's a legal desert in the state of Georgia. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of these rural towns that don't have representation, period. But you can take it a step further and there's absolutely no Spanish-speaking attorneys, or even attorneys that have Spanish-speaking staff in these rural cities of Georgia.
Do you get a lot of requests, a lot of clients from rural cities in Georgia?
Yes, we get lots of requests for consultations out of Dalton, out of I think one was I remember I read it Martinez, but it's pronounced Martinez, Georgia. But a lot of these rural towns, they reach out to us because they don't have anybody there that speaks Spanish.
So that's wonderful. That's why we have you here. You are a treasure. You mentioned, Jennifer, last time, we talked about overcoming unique challenges. Can you elaborate on specific instances where you felt your background significantly shaped your approach to legal practice?
Oh, absolutely. As I said before, my experience as a paralegal, it really matters. I often had to translate for Spanish-speaking clients with an English-speaking attorney. And, I saw firsthand how much was really being lost, not just linguistically, but emotionally with the client. The client feels more empowered and they're able to feel more vulnerable with someone that speaks their language. And it's always great to have staff that speaks that client's language. We're not, as attorneys, we're not expected to speak all the languages. I would love to. I wish I could speak multiple languages. Unfortunately, I only speak the two, but it's such a strength to be able to speak to a client in their own language and even be able to share in their culture. So, yeah.
And a little bit of the legal, topic perspective, what would be your best recommendation for somebody like myself who Spanish would be the fifth language? What is the fastest way to learn Spanish?
Oh, 100%. Just dropping yourself in surroundings that none of those people can speak English to you. You're forced to try and find whatever words you can think of in Spanish to try and get your point across.
But see, the problem is, so my cousin speaks Lithuanian, just like me. His wife is from Mexico, speaks Spanish. However, in their family, they speak English. I was like, guys. And then, God, like 11 or 12 years living together, they have not, like one has not learned Spanish, the other has not learned Lithuanian.
Oh, wow.
With me, I would have spoken by now probably perfect Spanish with no accent. But
it's also hard. It's also hard because I have a 4-year-old and ever since he could talk, we've always only spoken to him in Spanish. But then once he started going to daycare and in school, everything's in English. And so now he just responds to me in English and I'll have to drill it into him. I'll say it in Spanish, how did it go in school? ¿Cómo te fue en la escuela? And he'll be like, good. And I'll be like, bien. So I have to force him.
You have to do that. Yeah. And so it's said, this statistically proven by linguistics, that my background is linguistics, is that you have to push your child up to age of 5. So you still have 1 year left. And so, it, of course, going forward, try to, to teach them, take them to school to write and speak perfect Spanish if possible. But really up to age of 5, this is the ground that you build in your child's language.
That's really important, and I think it's also important to speak the language at home. Like you said, your friends, they speak English. Me and my husband speak English at home, and he probably sees that. So we need to force ourselves.
Yes, do that. Starting to deny it.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, how do you believe legal industry can better support Hispanic female lawyers in achieving leadership positions? Because I think I'm a huge supporter of female leaders, business entrepreneurs, business owners, and I try and always do support in whatever ways I can. How can me and or legal community in general support female attorneys and female leaders?
Well, yeah, I think we need to move past the mentoring and be more partners. I think it, like I said, it needs to go beyond that mentorship and become more of like a sponsorship. I don't know if you know this, but Hispanic female attorneys make up only 3%
really
of the attorney population.
That number needs to grow.
Yeah. When I believe when I graduated law school, it was about 2.
Wow.
So it's growing.
And how long ago did you graduate?
3 years ago.
Okay.
What year are we in? 2025. 4 years ago. 2022 is when I graduated.
Well, that's good. I mean, in 4 years, the percentage had increased by 0.5%. That's promising.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So as I said, we need to move beyond that, because the good thing about our industry and about our community is that women are always uplifting other women, and that's great. And we can always continue doing that and do it even better. But I think that as Hispanic women, we need to keep showing up for one another. There's still room at the table for all of us. And there's so little of us right now. There's so many, the population of Hispanic female attorneys is so small we need that. That just shows that we need to show up for each other even more.
Do you support, participate in any way you can through your law firm or personally in Georgia Hispanic associations?
I am a member. I must admit, I'm not able to go to a lot of the events. But for example, I know you're part of GAL, and I love what they do for the community. And you know, I want to do something similar to that for Hispanic, Hispanic female attorneys. That would be great in our community.
So we can have a separate episode just on that. Okay. Remind me, please, GAL Hispanic, because I have a lot of room for you, a lot of work for you that you would truly, truly enjoy from your heart.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. So in your experience, Jennifer, what role does cultural background play in crafting legal narratives for clients from diverse backgrounds?
Oh, culture is everything, Laura. And that's why I love that Atlanta is such a cultural hub. I love that there's so many different cultures here in Atlanta. And we're so open to other cultures as well. And when it comes to giving that legal advice to a client, if you share the same culture, you know, it's just another layer of trust that they're going to have with you. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times, you know, growing up Hispanic, growing up, you know, with a Dominican father and a Colombian mother has tied me to my clients. You know, a lot of them, they're like, oh, what's your accent? You know, because, you know, I have a blend of two accents. Plus, I was born here.
It's a good mixture right there.
Plus, being born here, you know, sometimes I have to be like, what is that accent?
I love it.
And I always start with, well, first of all, let me say I was born here. But the very next accent they always guess is Colombian. And, you know, it's because my mom always spoke to me in Spanish. My dad always spoke to me in English. But I can't tell you how many times that a client knows that what my background is, and all of a sudden, like, we're best friends past the attorney-client relationship.
Because it makes such a huge difference. And if you want to polish your accent, let me know when you're ready for Lithuanian.
Absolutely. I'm always open to it.
Lithuanians, by the way, I was telling my son while we were in Japan, we went to the World Expo 2025, which was once in a lifetime experience in Osaka. Beautiful. So Lithuania with Latvia, which is neighboring country of North Europe, you know, close to where we live, had a separate pavilion. And so I was telling my son, just reminding him that Lithuanian is one of the oldest still living element languages in the world, and it's coming from Spanish, from Latin branch.
I didn't know that.
We have a lot of similarities.
Is that like Romanian? Romania
has a separate branch, as Indo-European also branch, but Finnish and Romanian, there are two languages that don't make much sense to me, even though I have a lot of friends from there, but they're very different, even though from the same branch, but they're the structure of the sentence and words are very different, but like Portuguese, Spanish, French, English,
Lithuanian.
Yes. So yes. We can start with ačiū, which means thank you, and people say ačiū.
It doesn't sound good.
So I'll ask you in 10 minutes, see if you still remember.
It means what?
Thank you.
Okay.
Ask
me. Yes, quiz me in a bit.
Okay,
I'll remember.
Do you, Jennifer, have any stories you could share of clients who have influenced your understanding of the importance of representation in the legal system?
Oh, yes, absolutely. One moment that comes to mind is during a deposition. It wasn't me. The defendant was a Mexican woman, and she was from a rural part of Mexico, because I remember I was having trouble understanding her myself. But the interpreter that we had reserved for the deposition was South American. And there were so many words that the defendant was saying that the interpreter didn't know how to translate. And so they just kind of had to describe what it was. But fortunately, you know, I stepped in, we had it switched out mid deposition. Thankfully, somebody was available, and, you know, these dialect differences can create lots of confusion, But apart from that, some of my depositions, I get out of them with the biggest migraine.
Mm.
Because especially when we have an interpreter, because there are great interpreters out there. Don't get me wrong, but they're very few and far in between.
Yes.
And sometimes I leave my depositions with the biggest headaches because not only do I have to pay attention to the testimony, but I also have to make sure that the interpreter is translating correctly.
Because you know what they're saying.
Exactly. And that brings me back to my initial point that I wish there were more defense attorneys that spoke Spanish, because they would be able to know as well.
Absolutely. So that brings me back to my memory of interpretation and translation time when I used to translate from Lithuanian into Lithuanian, from German to German. So simultaneous translation, and some, like in Germany, who in the world would think, like every language, or in like every country, has dialects. So, from one state to another, you may not be able to understand very well, or,
Right.
there are different expressions, just like in Spanish languages. You have some aspects that you really have to carefully listen to, but very interesting. That's a really good point. Whether we realize it or not, all of us directly or indirectly influence other people around us. How has your personal journey inspired other young Hispanic women who are considering a career in law? I'm sure you have some followers on social media, in your personal life, probably, some students, girls who are looking up to you. What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, to begin with, my path wasn't easy, and it wasn't even traditional. As you know, I was a paralegal for so long. But I got pregnant during law school. I just made things harder for myself. But I took my finals, and my son was born literally the next day after my last final.
Wow.
So I might have just made things harder for myself, but I say that to say this. It was hard, but it wasn't impossible. And so when a younger Hispanic female would say to me, I don't think I can do this, I just, I always say, of course you can. If I was able to do it, anybody can.
Absolutely.
Anybody can. I will say this, one of our staff members here, I would be very sad to see her go, but she's preparing to go to law school. And I'm so proud of her, and I support her 100%. And I look forward to her being an attorney.
Which, did she pick the school yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Which one would you like her to go to?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me. I don't think, I think there's importance in the school that you pick, but it shouldn't be the only thing you focus on.
Absolutely.
I think you should know where you're going to get your experience from, because I was very fortunate to get lots of experience in this field before I even went to law school. And I think that's invaluable. She's been here with us going on 5 years since we started. And I think that has been very instrumental in her decision to go to law school. She actually went to school to be a teacher and decided she wanted to come back and be a paralegal, and now she wants to be a lawyer. And
that's amazing.
I can't be more proud of her.
So beautiful. It's a beautiful story, truly. And I know, Jennifer, that you are really inspiration for her. I don't doubt that a bit.
No, I hope that if I do inspire others, it's to be a better version of themselves and to know that, there might be obstacles, but it's never impossible.
What initiatives, Jennifer, or programs do you think are crucial for promoting diversity and inclusion, specifically for Hispanic women in the legal profession?
Well, it's like I said before, we need more spaces created for women by women. And as I said before, it starts with mentorship, but it ends with partnerships, right? I think that the more spaces that we create for each other, and tools and feedback we can give each other to just continue to improve is just going to be that much more instrumental in our success. These leadership roles, and even with the bar associations, they're doing things as well for female attorneys, but just investing in culturally specific resources. But most of all, like I said before, Hispanic women helping Hispanic women.
Jennifer, when you look back and reflect on your career path, what lessons learned do you wish you could share with your younger self when you were just starting out?
Oh my goodness. I tell her there's no one right way to be a lawyer. Um, I worked for a few attorneys, and I always had this thought that you had to do things a certain way. Like there was a one certain way to do everything, and that can apply to anything. How do you go to court? How do you even pick up the phone? How you respond to emails? And in reality, everybody's just out here winging it. And, I learned this lesson at the beginning when I first became partner here, because I would cover some criminal court dates for Alfonso, and I met the most incredible female attorneys that would show up to court and like wearing pink, or they would be, because for an attorney you expect them to wear like a black suit or a blue suit or a tan suit. But I would meet these incredible women and even men that would come to court wearing things that you wouldn't expect an attorney to wear.
Which I love.
I love that.
Yes.
It's a sense of showing your personality and creativity. I'll never forget this one woman that came to court. I believe she was wearing an all black suit, but she had hot pink glasses on.
Okay.
And I remember being like, you know what, good for you. I love that. Nice. And I even said that to her.
Yeah.
And she said back to me, it's your personality.
Absolutely.
You can't be afraid to let your personality show.
So how would you describe your personality as Gonzales Torres Law representative?
Oh man. I don't know how I would describe it.
Well, I see, for the camera purposes, since we don't, so like you like beautiful female, if feminine shoes, little stilettos.
I do like shoes. I do like shoes a lot. I'm not able to wear the really high ones like I used to when I was younger. I get very tired. You should see all the slippers under my desk. But I do like to dress feminine. But I also love the look of being professional. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Absolutely.
And I love anything on your social media, the funny stuff. Continue that. That shows your personality right there. So
thank you. Yes. We definitely will.
Because legal field, especially personal injury, is so stressful, so serious, and you want to let that go sometimes and just be fun.
Yes.
As someone who advocates for diversity, Jennifer, how do you handle situations where you feel inclusivity is lacking in your professional environment?
Oh, Laura, with grace. You have to give people grace. Most of the time, whenever inclusivity is lacking, it's just a blind spot. Somebody just doesn't notice. And, you just keep showing up, keep spreading the knowledge, and, just keep giving people grace, because 9 times out of 10, it's just a blind spot for them. They don't know that they're not being inclusive or appearing indifferent or shutting you out. Most of the time, they don't really know.
In that situation, what I'm learning, and it always makes me happy. I don't know if it helps the other person, but when I see not included or ignored, I usually turn the other cheek and, give a good compliment or say something positive. And most of the time, they give me this surprise look like, wow, she wasn't mean. She was actually really nice. And that changes the whole perspective. So I think we need to be those rays of light sometimes.
Absolutely. No, I get that all the time. Like I said a minute ago, I'm so busy that I'm not able to attend all the events as much as I would love to. But I feel like, I don't know if you've heard of RBF.
No, I have not.
Arresting B-face.
Okay. Okay.
But a lot of people think I'm very serious. And at least I think I'm very, very unapproachable. But once you actually come talk to me, you see that that's just my face. But that's why I said, you just keep showing up. You continue the conversation. And the more we're seeing, where it's harder to ignore us.
Very true, very true. Did you mention any Hispanic female attorney names that you work with or are familiar with in Georgia, or somebody that you look up to or respect, or have some experience with?
But that's the problem. We don't have enough of them. I know that they're out there. And there's a lot of female attorneys that I have so much respect for. But even growing up, all these billboards, it's always men. It's always men that you see. So, that's why I would like to become that female attorney that, somebody can rely on, somebody can come to whenever they need something.
So when we're going to see our billboard up?
It's a surprise.
So I'm meeting with Gary Sarner tonight, and I'll tell you later who he is, and we will talk about you, I'm sure.
We're waiting for the perfect moment. Our marketing team has really been breathing down my neck about this, and I've been trying to avoid it because it's already enough that you have to wake up in the morning and see what you look like in the morning in the reflection of the mirror. I don't need it blown up over 85.
You are gorgeous, and people have to know about you, not just me and my listeners and viewers, but everybody has to know. And I know that you're ready. Like Juliana Gearing has her billboards up, and so it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because people drive around. I used to do that. I don't have time anymore because I've turned much attorney almost nationwide, so it would be too much of my time. But in the past, I would see a friend of mine say, "Hey, I saw you here," and I would get so excited. So I'm sure as soon as you put it up, we'll get clients and other attorneys and your coworkers and employees like, "Hey, Jennifer, we just saw you." It's super exciting. I can't wait.
Okay, yeah. And you mentioned Juliana. We went to law school together.
Did you?
I love her.
Okay.
She is so nice.
She's so sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, she's president of Gold this year, so super exciting. Yeah,
that's great.
Yes.
That's great for her.
We all know how social media is in our lives nowadays, how significant it is. In what ways do you think various social media platforms have impacted the visibility of Hispanic female lawyers and their ability to connect with potential clients or mentors?
Oh my goodness. Like I said before, and I'm sure you can imagine how I am, but I've shied away from social media for so long. But thanks to our marketing team, they've really pushed us to, be on social media, do these videos, especially Alfonso. He was the hardest one. He does it willingly now.
Nice.
But both of us were like that at the beginning. But I'm so grateful that they pushed us because, sometimes you have to step in the spotlight to be able to inspire or bring information to the community or let the community know what their rights are.
Absolutely.
And that's why I enjoy doing the fun videos sometimes because law can be very serious. And while you want to be able to get a message and inform the community, you want to do it in a fun way too. Yeah.
So continue doing that. Always look forward to some new fun videos.
Yeah,
could you think of a time and discuss an instance maybe when you had to advocate for a client facing cultural biases or bias within the legal system? What was the outcome and what did you learn from that experience? Or did you learn anything at all?
I remember in a deposition where the defendant said something that was taken offensively by the defense attorney. And in Spanish, what she said is usually taken as a term of endearment. But sometimes when an interpreter is being used, it doesn't translate well. I couldn't tell you the many times that I've said a joke in Spanish and somebody's like, "Oh, what I want to laugh. What's the joke?" Right. And you try to explain it to them and it's not funny.
Right.
In English.
Because that's where the cultural differences come in.
Right.
Totally.
Right. So the translation usually completely misses the punchline. But in this case, the translation had completely missed the tone of how she said it. Right. And so I think the lesson there is that's why it's important to have, and I know that it's not something that we can always have, but whenever you can have an attorney that can speak both languages, that's what's most important. But I guess the lesson that I learned is that you don't always have to hear a joke in both languages.
Exactly.
To stay in one language.
Absolutely. Because trust me, like I said, when I used to do simultaneous translation, and it would be back in Lithuania between, German speaker and Lithuanian speaker, which is totally different languages. And I had same situation many, many, many times. And, sometimes we talk construction about all these, and I was, like 20, 21 years old. I had no idea. Like even now, I have no idea about the specific names of the structure around the windows. And I remember we talked about that, what is it made of?
Hey, I couldn't even tell you.
So then you just use your imagination and hope that the other party, the one who pays for the translation, would be okay. Which actually I had one time in this situation. So I came to my sister's boss. I was like, was it really bad? No, you did fine. It was so sweet.
Oh,
yeah, I couldn't do it again. I was young. I was brave at that time. What role do you, Jennifer, believe education plays in combating stereotypes about Hispanic women in the legal field? And how can law schools do better to prepare students for those challenges?
Oh, I think it plays a huge role, Laura. So the schools that we attend, even the professors we have, they shape our confidence and our identity as lawyers. So my school didn't have a Hispanic club. There's always like the different kinds of clubs, and my school didn't have a club, but there were some strong women that came after me, and they quickly made a Hispanic club for the Hispanic law students. So I'm grateful that they did that. I mean, thinking back, I don't think I would have had time to do it. I don't know if I was too scared or if I just didn't have time. I'm going to go with that I didn't have time. But this representation, it creates a space and a belonging, and law schools need to prioritize that early on.
Well, now we have Jennifer, then we have Juliana, and then we have Luisa Lejos. So I can only think on top of my head, love her to death.
Yes, she's great.
Thinking just of three of you living in that pretty close proximity between Norcross, and so Luisa has 4 offices. And
I think she's in Marietta, right?
One of the offices, yeah. So we need to come up with some club. It's 5 by Lithuania.
Yes.
So we'll come up with something.
We're going to start
That's a promise right there. Yes. If someone is in need for a personal injury, immigration, or criminal defense lawyer in Norcross or any really surrounding area or city in Georgia, how can they locate you? How can they reach you?
Well, Laura, we have 2 offices. We have our Norcross office here, and we also have our Alpharetta office right down the street from the Avalon. You can either come in person, or you can give us a call. Our phone number is 770-475-8186, or you can catch us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is Gonzales, Gonzalez, Torres, Torres _law. That's on Instagram, and Gonzales Torres Law on Facebook as well.
All right, wonderful. And how many attorneys do you have nowadays in the house?
We're 3. It's 3 of us. It's Alfonso, myself, and Naja McIntosh, who handles our criminal defense.
And keep in mind, they all speak both languages. So if anybody is in need for a good attorney, please reach out to Jennifer.
Absolutely.
That was again so great,
Jennifer.
Thank you so much for finding time for us to sit down finally here and have a good conversation and talk about the challenges faced by Hispanic female lawyers, and the importance of representation, diversity, and inclusion, and for being my special guest today again.
Thank you so much for having me.
And hopefully we can sit down again and just continue our conversation, because, as the time goes by, only a year and a half, how many changes have occurred?
I know, continue to happen.
Absolutely. So I'm sure we'll be back, because people absolutely love you and they need you, and they request to have. I know somebody already asked me will we have a sequence of the next episode? Sure. Let's just say yes. We'll figure out the time later on.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
And again, that was attorney Jennifer Cabrera-Torres with Gonzales Torres Law based in Norcross in Alpharetta, Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for watching and listening to our episode today. For more tips and tricks on legal funding and personal injury law related topics, follow me, like and subscribe for It's Time for More Injury Funding podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms worldwide. And also follow More Injury Funding for the legal funding tips. I can't wait to see you and my dear listeners and viewers at our next upcoming episode. Until then, be well. Thank you.